What you gonna do when I take your woman out? I'm making a date with Robin Gibbons, baby. Now what you gonna do? Get mad at me, Tyson? The homo, tutti frutti, my pet fee. Yes, dear. Don't no man kiss no man in the mouth. I got no tape. He kissed men in the mouth. He's a homo. He let me call him a homo. He ain't gonna deny it because he's scared of me.
This is Mitch Blood Green, a notorious gang leader hailing from the Bronx, New York. This is Michael Gerard Tyson. You may or may not know him as Iron Mike, the Dynamite Kid Tyson, who, in my opinion, is just one of the undisputed greatest boxers of all time. The story you're about to hear is a story of jealousy, pride, greed, revenge. A story so interesting, I just had to make a video on it. Well, if you're as curious and excited as I am, make sure you click the subscribe button and let's get into this video.
I promise I'll be worth the wait. I'll be worth.
It was the 80s. Michael Jackson was becoming the king of pop. Bell bottoms were still a huge deal, and Back to the Future had just blown the collective minds of millions of young viewers across the globe. At this time, Mike Tyson was a machine. I mean, it's not every day that you're bestowed the title, the baddest man on the planet, for no reason. But Mike Tyson deserved it. If I had to put into context for you just how strong, just how much of a force the young Mike Tyson was, he already won 30 fights before he could even legally buy a drink in the US. Teddy Atlas, who worked with the younger Tyson, told The Ring magazine, as far as most pure, God-given talent, raw, from the earliest stage that you saw, it would have to be a 12-year-old Tyson. I personally love looking into the mindset of a young Tyson because I believe he had a drive, a passion, a hunger and a thirst. But more importantly, he had a mentality. A very rare mentality that only comes once in a generation. A mentality that 99% of people fail to understand. A mindset that drove him inside the ring and outside the ring. He carried this mentality like the iconic tattoo around his left eye. Real experts, fighters, trainers, boxing historians will tell you that half of Mike Tyson's dominance in the early unbeaten part of his career was due to his opponents being scared to even fight him before they even stepped into the ring. What was his secret to winning wars before they even started? What was the secret to his intimidation? Well, I'll put you out of your misery. He had the mindset of a warrior.
Getting back to the story, the year was 1986. Mike Tyson was on a mission to become the youngest ever world champion, buying luxury cars, exorbitant mansions, even spending a cool $245,000 on an 18-karat gold dial for his Rolex. The madness doesn't end there. Tyson spent a further $174,000 on a gold chain. All this at the tender age of 20. Safe to say, Gerard was pretty special. Around the same time, Mitch Green, fresh off making a name for himself in the dangerous streets of New York, was making a name for himself between the ropes, winning the New York Golden Gloves 4 times. And he wasn't bad either. Green's professional career started with a 15-fight win streak. He must have picked up a few things in the streets. Mitch made use of emerging digital media at the time to get his message across. This time, the message was loud and clear. He wanted a shot at the man who had his name on the tip of the tongues of everyone in the boxing world, Mike Tyson. After many, and I mean many, public insults, the day finally arrived. May 20th, 1986, Mike the Dynamite Kid versus Mitch Blood Green. On paper, Green had all the advantages one would need to walk out victorious, standing at a good 6 inches taller than 5'11" Mike Tyson, giving Green superior reach and weight. To someone new to the sport of boxing, this should seem like an easy win for Green. It was quite the opposite. In fact, Tyson dominated the fight, winning 9 out of the 10 rounds with relative ease for a win via unanimous decision. Quite the embarrassment for Green, who surprisingly, or unsurprisingly, depending on who you ask, retired from the sport of boxing after this fight. They inevitably try to cast a larger-than-life image, a mythic, intimidating quality, but in fact, they are all too human. This line comes from one of my favorite books of all time, The Laws of Human Nature by Robert Greene. In telling this story, I couldn't help but identify Mr. Mitch Blood Green with what Robert Greene would describe in his book as an inflaming individual. Let me break this idea down for you. Inflaming individuals are people of this world who possess the blessing or curse of an ability to trigger powerful emotions in almost everyone they encounter. Let's not get confused. Inflaming individuals are not all bad. The types of powerful emotions they trigger can range from extremes of mistrust or confidence, love or hatred. There's a type that are loved by most and hated by few. King David and Julius Caesar, for example. These people hold a degree of charisma that draws people to them. Another type being the narcissist. Mitch Green being a perfect example. The narcissistic type project their internal drama outward, catching a whole bunch of people up in the turmoil they create, and winning them more foes than fans. The best way to identify these individuals is by assessing not just how they affect yourself, but how they affect others. Nobody can remain indifferent to these individuals. They plague your mind even when out of your presence. They subconsciously leave you with the limited options of being a follower or enemy, attracted or repulsed. But are these people just born like this? Have they always been like this? Are these people out to get us? Truth is, we're all human. We all have baggage, we all have trauma. And with these individuals, it's best to see beyond the smokes and mirrors. Demythologize them. Try to understand why it is that they are the way that they are. You may just find yourself sympathizing with them, relating to them, learning from them, and most importantly, seeing them for what they really are, human.
And that brings us to our first trait, or our first mentality of a warrior, and that is courage. Can we just take a second to appreciate just how wild it is that Mike Tyson was fighting much older, larger, more experienced boxers than he was, and taking them on one by one with relative ease. Young Mike was relentless, facing every and any opponent, no matter the race, size, age, or background. But I want to tell you a secret. Having courage isn't hard. Having courage is not the absence of fear. It's quite the contrary, actually. Courage is doing it despite fear's looming, glooming presence. You'll always feel fear. You're human. Fear is a natural, biological response. You'll feel scared, you'll feel overwhelmed. But courage is looking at fear and saying, you cannot control me. You don't have power over me. I have power over you. You see, the opportunity that fear uses to get power over you is when it comes and it shows you its face, it shows you its claws, and it looks at your reaction. And when you react to it, you run away. You run away at its mere existence. But you don't understand that fear itself, its presence doesn't matter. Its existence is very, very irrelevant. Whether it's there or not, it doesn't matter. Your reaction to fear is what matters. The courageous individual uses their fears as fuel, uses their fears as a compass to guide them to where they should become better, whilst the coward runs and hides from confronting their fears. They duck. They deny its existence. And what better to round this point off than the words of Mike Tyson himself? Fear is the greatest obstacle to learning, but fear is your best friend. Fear is like fire. If you learn to control it, you let it work for you. If you don't learn to control it, it'll destroy you and everything around you. The second trait, the second mentality of a warrior is competence from practice. A warrior understands the power of practice, repetition, consistency. I'm sure you've probably heard the phrase practice makes perfect before, but I believe Mike Tyson really exemplified this. Mike's daily routine was grueling.
There's no alarm clock, no wake-up call. After 8 years, it's Mike Tyson's body that signals the beginning of a new day.
No one wants to get up at 4 and run when it's pitch dark. It has to be done. And the only reason I do it so early is because I believe that the other guy isn't doing it, and that it gives me a little edge.
He would start his day by 4 a.m., do a 3 to 5 mile run, eat breakfast by 10 to gain a little bit of energy to do his daily 10-round sparring match, which would shortly be followed by lunch and a minimum of 6 more sparring matches, coupled with other extreme exercises, jumping jacks, and all of that, only to turn in the evening and do it again and again and again 365 days a year. Mike lived and breathed to become the best boxer on the planet, and he put in every single bit of energy, every single bit of effort, every single bit of time that he had into becoming that goal, into becoming the best. The third mentality of a warrior that I want you to understand is diligence. A warrior creates their own success. They do not stumble across it. Success is very, very intentional. They put it into their own hands. How do they do this? Well, it's simple. They do this by creating a plan of action. You'd be surprised how many people fail in life by simply not creating a plan that simply indicates goals, keys. In business, there are things called KPIs, key performance indicators. These are little goals, little indicators that show that your business is doing better. This could be for revenue, this could be for, audience retention, this could be for marketing, whatever it is. You have certain goals that your business needs to knock off. But why is it that we don't do this for our real lives? Why don't we create KPIs for our academics, KPIs for our finances, KPIs for our diets, for our whatever it is? Why don't we create little goals that indicate progress? It's very easy to throw energy in one direction, but I promise you, without a plan, you're going to lose it. You're going to fizzle out. You've probably heard the famous quote, "Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth," by Mike Tyson. Although this may or may not be true in combat sports, in real life, in reality, in your relationships, in your academics, in your finances, in your work life, in whatever it is death to think that you don't need a plan. To end this point off, I'd like to share one of the most important quotes to my heart, one of the closest quotes I keep to me. Victorious warriors win first, then go to war, while defeated warriors go to war first, then seek to win. Sun Tzu, The Art of War. After Green's retirement, he returned back to his old ways of both getting high on and making a living off selling drugs and running the streets of New York. Despite retirement, Mitch was determined to get back at Tyson in the ring, and so what began as an idea slowly turned into a dark and twisted plot. Tyson's dominance continued to grow, going from strength to strength, becoming the youngest ever heavy world champion at the age of 20. However, this didn't put an end to Green's thirst for revenge. He had his eyes set on catching Tyson in a more familiar environment, the streets. And unluckily enough for Green, he got his chance on August the 24th, 1988. Tyson was at the Dapper Dan clothing store in Harlem, New York, picking up an $800 jacket. Word of Tyson's presence got out and landed right at Green's doorstep, who took this opportunity with both hands to make his way to Dapper Dan's door and confront Tyson. I'm sure you can imagine how this panned out. The confrontation quickly became physical, with the baddest man on the planet quickly coming out on top, severely injuring Green with a single straight right hand to the face, completely shutting Mitch's left eye off, and opening a new cut, a lesion that required 5 stitches. You could tell that Mike was probably not having a good day. I don't know. This was such a crazy story at the time. Even Steve Harvey spoke about it.
You remember the incident? He got in a fight in New York with Mitch Blood Green. And he pulled his glasses off. Did you see his eye? His eye was just hanging out his head.
Mitch Green was born on January 13th, 1957 in Augusta, Georgia, USA. He grew up in the dangerous Bronx neighborhood of New York City and attended the DeWitt Clinton High School, which was in the middle of gang-disputed territory. By the time Mitch was 17 years old, he had already witnessed the shooting and death of his own father. Not long after, he himself would get shot in a separate incident, receiving 1 bullet in his wrist and another grazing the right side of his head. Searching for an outlet to express himself and get away from gang life, Green took up boxing. He slowly started his career as an amateur boxer in 1976, proving himself to be an incredibly talented person. Despite having so much talent, Mitch continued being the leader of his gang, the Black Spades, terrorizing the streets of New York City. Cutting forward a few years, after yet another defeat in his own streets in the hand of his rival Mike Tyson after the Dapper Dan incident, Mitch's mental health started spiraling. He was using more drugs than ever, barely training, and seemingly losing his mind. With one police officer being quoted describing an interaction that he had with Mitch Green, stating, "Green stopped his car in the middle of the street and started yelling. It was completely irrational." In 1997, Green sued Tyson for $25 million over the brawl, but was awarded just $45,000 in damages, which didn't even cover the legal fees. He was also awarded a 30-day restraining order to stay away from Tyson. Despite this, Green still left the court proclaiming, "I'm the winner, I won, I whooped him." But the story does come to a good end, I promise you. As of 2023, you would be hard-pressed to even recognize the 66-year-old Mitch Green. He currently resides in his hometown of Augusta, Georgia, where he devotes his time to his relationship with God.
2 Corinthians 5:17. If any man be in Christ, he is a new creation. The old things have passed. Behold, all things have become new.
You see, my friend, although we seem to believe that we control a large part of our destiny, you need to understand that it's somewhat predefined, predestined already. And this could mean that it's predefined by factors that are outside of your control. Factors that you don't even have any say whether it happens or not. Traumatic childhood experiences have lasting effects on any individual's future prospects and goals. Sometimes we remain trapped in our past, believing naively that we are free, but really these traumatic experiences keep us trapped in its claws of anxiety and depression. When we're younger and something bad happens to us, we repress it. When we repress our trauma, the open wound in our heart begins to rot and fester until we become bitter shells of our former selves. We begin to hate those that find happiness, love, and freedom because we don't have any of these beautiful things we so intimately crave. The worst part of it all is that deep down in our hearts of hearts, we believe that we are not worth it. We are not worthy of love. We're not worthy of true happiness. We're not worthy to find that partner. We're not worthy to have that body. We're not worthy because of maybe what our abusive parents said, or that abusive relationship, that abusive partner said to us. Those bullies were telling us. These experiences, they have seeds that they plant, and if we don't confront them, they grow into horrible weeds that empty and completely destroy your garden. The words of those bullies that told you you would never make it, they linger in the back of your head as you write your exam, or as you start that new business venture, or as you start that new diet that you've been trying to actually stick to. Those words, those "you're not enough. No matter what you do, it's not meant for you. It's meant for your neighbor, the person next to you, your friends, success, happiness. They're meant to be in relationships. You're meant to be single and alone. But I'm here to tell you, my friend, that's not how it's supposed to be. To go further into this idea, instead of expressing or confronting our traumatic experiences, we begin to repress it. We begin to hide and duck away from it, to try and deny its existence, just as we do with fear. We try and hide and really block it off from our minds. You know, the closest example I can give you to this is putting your hand on a stove and the stove is burning your hand is blistering hot, but you're saying, "Oh, I'm just gonna listen to music to try and block over it. I'm just gonna take drugs or sex or whatever it is to try and repress and suppress these emotions, these feelings, this burning sensation in my hand." It's not gonna work. We have to confront it and remove our hand from the stove in order to actually find progress in our lives. If you can't even look at yourself in the mirror because of all the comments that the detractors were saying about your body, about the way it looks, the way you have acne, the way you have rolls, if you can't do that, how will you actually accept yourself from a point of self-love in order to become better? And sadly, for a lot of people, they choose to not, in fact, confront themselves or their traumatic experiences or their trauma. In fact, they choose to suppress it, and so a bitterness is created, and you become jealous of other people. So we find ourselves dealing with the cause, trauma, childhood trauma, that's painting your future each day. You're letting your past experiences dictate your future each day. So we have this situation, but instead of focusing on the roots, we actively choose to focus on its symptoms. Instead of focusing on the trauma itself, we focus on the anxiety we feel when we're talking to, someone we find attractive, or the anxiety we feel when we're at the gym. People might be judging us, or we focus in on the depression we're feeling at the moment. But really, you have to confront everything that happened years back. You have to get back to what caused these feelings, because until you get to the cause, the symptoms are going to keep popping up in one way or another. And unfortunately, for 99% of people, we cope with this through drugs, through sex, through work, through whatever it may be, but we cope through this through any way but confrontation. And so we ridicule those that actually overcome their trauma, those that become happy, mistaking their own happiness for our unhappiness, and thus the creation of the inflaming individual. But what I want you to understand is that no inflaming individual is just born. Life throws certain curveballs. Life throws certain experiences that are so far out of our control. Look, if you've ever been hurt, I want you to know that it was not in your hands. It was not in your control. You should never blame yourself for an experience that happened years and years ago that really didn't have anything to do with you. But there's something really key about trauma that you need to understand, and that's the fact that the more you let trauma fester and grow, the more power and control it has over you. So at the end of the day, that traumatic experience still has power over you. There's something dark that happens when a person is inflamed by their traumatic experiences. When their trauma takes over who they are, they start to hurt other people. You probably heard the phrase, hurt people, and that has never been more true. When you let this trauma take over your life, you begin to actively want to destroy other people's life. And it happens very small ways. Maybe you never in a good mood, and nobody really wants to be around you. So my friend, somehow you made it to the end of the video. Thank you for watching this video. I've been trying my best to increase the quality of my videos, but if you've been noticing a change in the quality, please, I would appreciate it if you go down, click like and subscribe. Please share this with a friend or someone out there that may need to hear this message. I really appreciate every single one of you out there that are showing me your support through your emails, through your comments, through your views, through everything you do. And even if you don't like the video, tell me why in the comments. Just tell me anything you want in the comments. Tell me your name in the I don't care. Talk to me. Tell me anything. I want to know. I want to speak to you. I want to hear from you. Thank you for watching the video. I love you so much. Have a good day.